But you would think that the Neverland so-called documentary, which is about, alleged sexual activity between Michael Jackson and these two guys, they might talk to the one Jackson family member who has acknowledged having sexual contact with Wade Robson. Don't you think that that person would be worth,
pretty important? Yeah.
You would think not only would they at least would mention that person's existence.
Yeah.
Hey everybody. This here is volume 3 of Michael Jackson is Innocent, Let the Truth Be Told. Now that clip you guys just heard was from John Ziegler's podcast where he interviewed both Brandy and Taj Jackson, who are both the nephew and niece of pop legend Michael Jackson. Both Brandy and Taj have been involved in interviews on smaller publications due to the media bigwigs blocking them from sharing their side of events regarding the allegations made in the Leaving Neverland film by Wade Robson and James Safechuck. Now, Brandy has revealed in many interviews as of late and on Twitter that she and Wade has dated for 7.5 years in the past. This would be the one side of the story that Leaving Neverland director Dan Reed would leave out, being that this didn't fit the nasty narrative that Wade Robson and James Safechuck had set forth.
Us. My uncle had already known Wade and his family.
Okay.
And Wade had developed a crush on me.
Okay.
So I'll briefly explain.
Yes.
He and I met in 1991, approximately. We had done, excuse me, an LA Gear photo shoot, as well as the black or white video. Yeah. We had done those together. And he started to develop a little crush. So he asked my uncle if he could maybe set up a situation where we could get to know each other better.
And how old were you then?
Approximately 9 or 10.
Okay.
He and I were both born in 82. I'm just a little older than him. So this was approximately 91 when we met. And
so he was like, what, 7?
When we met, he was about 9 or 10 as well.
Yeah, because
that's a serious crush, young man.
Well, you know how it is, like schoolyard type thing. We didn't go to the same school, but we met on the same set. So it's, like a puppy love situation. It was just a very normal thing. So my uncle brought us both to the ranch, and we spent about a week there getting to know each other. At the end of this trip is when Wade asked me very sweetly if I would be his girlfriend. So from that point on is when we started dating. But again, let me stress that it was a very age-appropriate relationship. It wasn't like we were having this sexual relationship at, 11, 12 years old. That, progressed later through our relationship.
So how long were you guys together?
It approximately 9 years or so. We broke up around 2000 or 2001, something to that.
So while you were teenagers, through your teen years.
Yeah.
Filmmaker Dan Reed is the director and producer of Leaving Neverland. He joins us for his first TV interview about making this documentary and is here at the table. Dan Reed, very good to see you.
Thank you.
So already it's created a lot of controversy, and one of the main criticisms about it is that it's very one-sided, that you only focused on Wade and James and you got no reaction from the Jackson family or anyone associated on his side. How do you address that?
Well, the allegations are directed against Michael himself, and of course he's no longer around to defend himself. So we included the things he said while he was alive in defense of his behavior, during the 1993 and the 2003 to 2005 investigations. And he went on television, and his lawyers made statements, and we included quite a lot of that stuff in the...
But did you not think it was necessary to hear from members of his family or his lawyers to react specifically to Wade and James?
Well, this isn't a film about Michael Jackson. It's a film about Wade Robson and James Safechuck, who are two little boys who, to whom this dreadful thing happened long ago. And it's the story of their coming to terms with that over 2 decades and the story of their families. Now, you know, as far as including other eyewitnesses to that, there was no one else in the room, I don't believe, when Wade was being molested by Michael.
Now I'm going to take the words right out of director Dan Reed's mouth to prove my case the same way he tried to prove his by doing the same thing and leaving Neverland. Now, according to director Dan Reed, he says he believes, and I repeat, he believes that no one was in that room with Wade Robson and Michael Jackson during these alleged molestation accounts. So being that this is Wade's story, they're alone. So why in the Leaving Neverland film does Wade Robson make any claims or accounts stating that Michael also molested Brett Barnes and Macaulay Culkin? Now, if you were alone during these alleged encounters, why would Michael have you around Brett Barnes and Macaulay Culkin while he was molesting them if there was any truth to your claims? So let us continue, people, in proving Michael's innocence. Keep going, Dan Reed, keep talking.
When James was having sex with Michael.
So Robson and Safechuck both defended Michael Jackson in the past, including in 1993 when he was accused of sexual abuse, and Robson testified on his behalf at the trial in 2005. Why have their stories changed?
Well, what people find it difficult to understand, and what I've always, you know, making this film found it sort of difficult to understand and is very shocking, is the deep attachment that forms between the abuser and the abused with this kind of grooming pedophile activity. So both Wade and James were in love with Michael, and they even after the sexual activity stopped, they continued loving him, and he was, you know, a close friend, particularly to Wade, for many, many years.
And they thought Michael was in love with them too. They say in the documentary.
Michael
yes.
told them both, you know, that he was in love with them, that they were
they were special.
They had an amazing future ahead of them.
Now, as you can see, director Dan Reed is sitting in the hot seat, sweating like a pig, in the air-conditioned CBS studio. Now, I've been to CBS New York, and that studio is very cold, not an ounce of heat in there. They keep it air-conditioned due to the equipment that they have to use. And generally, the only way a person will sweat like that under an air-conditioning setting is when they're under pressure for not telling the truth and they know that they're lying. Okay, now I'm going to move on to something regarding James Safechuck and the rings that he's been holding on to since childhood. Now, this is also going to tie to something that Siggy Jackson had said recently in an interview.
I've had horrible shit happen to me. And any of that horrible stuff, I've got rid of. I'm not going to keep... They showed Wade burning the pictures of Michael.
Yep.
And doing all this stuff. So why does the weirdo keep a ring? And let's be real, like I said, Neverland was a toy for my uncle. You think my uncle's gonna buy some little ring? This is a man who, for us as children, closed down malls. Right. And let us have free random run of the mall. He didn't bother us. He looked at us and said, the mall's closed down. Y'all go get what the hell y'all want. Wow. Tell me the price at the end.
for TMZ to post this article to their website and onto their TV show stating that this was a video of Michael Jackson buying an engagement ring for James Safechuck would be a lie. If you look in the background of this video, you will see Michael Jackson is surrounded by nothing but shoes and eyeglasses, sunglasses, and trinkets. There are no jewelry signs anywhere. I don't know where TMZ got this information from, but for them to post it, they ought to be ashamed of themselves trying to help the narrative of James Safechuck and Wade Robson.
I am a child of Neverland. I grew up there.
You spent time there?
Ah, man, I spent my whole life there. People forget that, you know, my uncle wasn't the type person to say, oh, you have to be invited to, you had the last name Jackson, I could just be in the area, show up to the gate, they're going to let me come in and relax. There might not be movies playing or whatever. Right. It was my uncle's house. My uncle was a family man. And most of the time when people were up there, he wasn't there.
He wasn't there. He wasn't there.
In the Leaving Neverland film, Wade Robson speaks about the very last dinner he had with Michael just before his passing. The Leaving Neverland version of the story portrays this as a dinner Wade and his family had with Michael and his kids, which Michael repeatedly begged for wine. The film pretends that Wade and his family were the only attendees. Also attending the same dinner was Michael's nephew Taj and Brett Barnes, along with his wife and child. This was the they Chantel Robson referred to in that movie scene. Wade makes claims saying Michael was drunk and out of it just the night before. Michael was due in court, and Wade was to testify. That timeline is incorrect, and Taj puts it in order in this interview clip.
For me, what stood out was there was, for the HBO, I think it was cut from the European versions, but the HBO version had a scene in which I was actually there and knew, just by verifying what I experienced and know in my heart and know exactly what happened, and then see them retell it completely wrong, it threw me off to the point where I was like, no, they just blatantly lied. And not only was it one person, it was the whole Robson family collaborated it. So to me, it felt like they were going off a script. And that was when the 2005, when Wade talks about a dinner that he had with the kids and Michael, and Chantel says, and they were there. Well, they was me. I was part of that. Also, Brett Barnes and his family were there as well. So that's who when she says they were there, that's what she meant. And basically that event happened. They made it sound like Wade saw Paris interact with my uncle and my uncle was out of it. That's what they were saying, which right then that dinner was nothing like that. But then Wade saw my uncle and Paris was tugging at him, and Paris, my uncle wasn't reacting, and Wade, basically, I'm going off of what my memory says, I knew I had to save him. You know, basically, I didn't want to, I didn't want him to go to jail kind of idea. And then Amanda, his wife, says, and then Wade testified the next day, and then it shows footage of him going to the court. Well, that whole event happened after they testified, after Wade testified.
I have to ask my subscribers and viewers, where exactly can we draw the line between fact and fiction? Why do we live in a world where you could actually accuse someone of doing something that they didn't actually do? Like, for instance, you can accuse someone of being a thief, and if 10 people or more actually say that this person is a thief, even though they never actually had stolen anything, they can be condemned and labeled a thief for the rest of their lives. It's messed up that this is the world that we actually live in, where we could actually accuse someone of a crime with no credible proof, and the world has to accept it based upon what the media is actually saying to us. I urge you guys, please keep continuing to spread the message of his innocence and continue to like, subscribe, and comment on these videos. as more stuff is coming. And I'll see you guys next time.